So you learn how to deal with the tinnitus symptoms. You learn how to be productive despite tinnitus, but you still may have those days that tinnitus will spike up, and it could be the volume of tinnitus that is going up. It could be that now you're hearing new sounds that you never heard before, and you're thinking, like, what is going on? Why is this happening to me? Well, in this video, I will tell you exactly what not to do with tinnitus and how to avoid those spikes from ever happening. Hi, my name is Guy, and I've been suffering from severe tinnitus for over a decade now. My tinnitus has a mix of high frequencies and low frequencies. I guess I'm lucky. And I'm also hearing sounds of like machines sometimes in the background. But typically it stays pretty static with those sounds. And you may be wondering, what are tinnitus spikes? Well, tinnitus spikes could be that the volume of tinnitus that you hear is increasing, or you are hearing different kind of sounds. It could be, again, different frequencies or different sounds altogether. Those kind of changes are typically referred to as tinnitus spikes. Okay, let's start with the easy fixes or things that are easy to prevent. The first one is loud sounds, and that one is a pretty straightforward cause for tinnitus spikes. And loud sounds really fall into two categories. The first category is the sounds that you don't have to hear, you don't have to be exposed to. And in this case, I really don't have too much to say. If you are exposed to loud sounds that you don't need to be exposed to, cut your exposure to those sounds or just walk away from them. Whatever you need to do not to be exposed to sounds that you don't need to be exposed to. The second category is more complex, and those are the sounds that you actually want to be exposed to, but they may create and they may spike your tinnitus. So, for example, going to a noisy restaurant with family or friends, that it's something that you want to do, but the loud sounds are obviously going to be an issue. Another example is a concert. You enjoy music and you should not stop listening to music, and you may want to go to a concert. So what do you do in that case? And in both cases, the restaurants or the concerts or other cases of sounds that you really want to be exposed to, there's a few things you can do. Choose a location in the event where the sounds are not going to be too extreme. So don't put yourself right next to the speakers, for example. Or try to find a corner in a restaurant that is not exposed to too loud of sounds. Just those simple things can reduce the level of sound that you're exposed to, which will help you enjoy the music, enjoy the conversation with your family or your friends, and not be exposed to sounds which are too loud. The second thing you can do, if you have hearing aids, you can use ear molds, which are blocking as much as possible or as much of the bad sounds that will create tinnitus spikes, but let the good sounds go into your ear. So by using ear molds that are blocking the entire cavity of your ear, you can control with your hearing aids volume how much sound goes into your ear and how much sound is staying out of your ear. And that will help preventing tinnitus from spiking. If you do not have hearing aids, then you can just use earplugs. Earplugs these days are really good at blocking the bad sounds, the really loud sounds, while still allowing you to enjoy music, have a conversation, and just enjoy the activity that you're trying to enjoy while not being exposed to sounds which are too loud. The second easy fix is earwax. Some people are more prone than others to have earwax in their ears. If you know that you're one of those people that creates more earwax or just more than normal, just make sure that you clean your ears on a regular basis. If you have earwax in your ear to the point where it's starting to interfere with your hearing, it will aggravate your tinnitus. It will interfere with your hearing. Yeah, it's just really easy to prevent that from happening by keeping your ears clean. If you need to go see an audiologist, really simple appointment, clean your ears, and you're good to go. Now we are moving to one of the challenges which is more complex for sure, and that's stress. Anxiety, if you suffer from anxiety or if you suffer from depression, those three different conditions can really aggravate your tinnitus. What you really want to do is try to identify the source of the stress for you or the source of the anxiety and manage that. If you suffer from depression, you should work with a physician to manage your symptoms and to manage your depression. Don't just let those things go because they will really aggravate your tinnitus, and it will start a vicious cycle. Stress will aggravate your tinnitus, tinnitus will aggravate your stress, and it will be a cycle that you will not go out of. Managing the source is the first thing that you can do. The second thing that you can do is use straightforward techniques to reduce your stress. So things like exercise, things like yoga, mindfulness, anything that is known to reduce stress can definitely help you in this situation. Again, you want to break the cycle of tinnitus and stress feeding each other and just getting worse and worse and worse. So any of those straightforward stress management techniques should help. The last thing that you can try, in my last video, which you should see somewhere here, I covered different therapies that are aimed directly at managing tinnitus and stress. Things like CBT, things like TRT. Those are therapies which are, their goal is to change how you respond to tinnitus. And by changing how to perceive or respond to tinnitus, you are reducing the stress. So if your stress is from tinnitus, making your brain react less negatively to tinnitus is going to prevent stress from going higher, which will prevent tinnitus from going higher, and you will stop that cycle. So again, CBT and TRT, and I spoke about other therapies in that video that I referred to that will help you manage stress. Okay, the next category of tinnitus triggers is a mix of medication, supplements, foods, and drinks. So the challenge is that medication that you can take to deal with a completely different condition may trigger tinnitus, and you are completely unaware of it, right? You may be prescribed by your doctor some medication that you're taking to manage, again, something different, and that medication end up creating tinnitus, so triggering tinnitus for you. With medication and supplements, and again, food and drinks are falling into the same category, and you will see why in a second. The best way to deal with that is to create a really simple log. So if you know that you're going to start taking a new medication, or if you want to try a new supplement for whatever reason, just create a really simple log. It does not need to be complicated. A piece of paper, if that's how you prefer to do it, or you can use your phone, you can use a computer, whatever works for you to manage new medication, new supplements, new over-the-counter medication, new foods that you started to eat, or new drinks that you started to drink. All those kind of things fall into the same category of things that you wanna monitor, and preferably when you start taking them or when you start consuming them, because by doing that, if tinnitus triggers maybe 2 or 3 days later, you have a really good chance to understand what caused it. Now, sometimes you may be, out there with friends. You may have eaten something new that you didn't even plan to eat, or drink some kind of a drink that you didn't plan to drink. If you know that happened and you go back home and you remember that, try to add that to the log. Because again, 2 or 3 days later, if your tinnitus spikes, you have a good chance to go back to see, okay, I ate this new thing, or I drank this new drink, and that might have caused my tinnitus to spike up. And typically what you want to do is if you can stop it. So let's talk about that for a second. If it's a prescribed medication that you started to take, you obviously want to go back to your physician and say, hey, I started to take this medication on X date, and a few days later my tinnitus started to spike up. I think it might be this medication. The physician should be able to work with you to find an alternative medication, or find a different option that will not trigger your tinnitus. And the way that you will confirm that is by again, if it's a prescribed medication, work with your physician. If it's a supplement or food or a drink, you can just manage it yourself and just stop that new thing, and then follow that for about 2-3 weeks. 2-3 weeks after you stopped taking a new supplement or consuming a new food, it should stop affecting your system, and the symptoms should subside, and tinnitus should relax and not be spiking up. It typically takes hours to a day or two for something to spike up your tinnitus, but it may take up to 2-3 weeks to get out of your system and stop spiking your tinnitus. So that is the time frames that you're working with. Again, hours to a day or two to start spiking, and it could be hours or days, but also up to 2 weeks or 3 weeks for something to stop spiking your system and stop spiking your tinnitus. So that is the best way to manage medication, supplements, over-the-counter medication, and food and drinks. Okay, the next tinnitus spiker that we're going to talk about is smoking. And I'm just a messenger, please. Please understand, I'm just telling you facts that were proven by research. Smoking does 2 things which are bad for your hearing and tinnitus. It increases your blood pressure, and increased blood pressure has been documented to affect your hearing and affect your tinnitus. So that's one. The second thing is smoking can affect your eustachian tubes that are connected through your throat. So you know that our ears, our mouth cavity and noses are all connected. And smoking can expose your eustachian tubes and your ears to the smoke. It can create blockage. It can do all kind of bad things to everywhere in your system here, as well as increasing your blood pressure. So not smoking, if possible, is probably the best way that you can prevent that tinnitus spiker. The other unfortunate thing about smoking is that if you're a passive smoker, so if you're next to someone that smokes a lot, you are affected the same way. I know it sucks, but if you are next to someone that smokes a lot, you need to try to avoid that, or try to avoid being next to them when they are smoking, because unfortunately you're being exposed to all of the same symptoms. If you are suffering from tinnitus, it may spark up your tinnitus, it may affect your hearing. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is sleep deprivation and insomnia. And this is another one of those more complex triggers for tinnitus, because if you suffer from insomnia, you can't control that easily. It's a condition that is harder to manage. Or if you suffer from sleep deprivation or you don't sleep well, you need to find the cause for that. So let's talk about them one by one. So if you do have insomnia, you need to work with a physician to manage that condition and to try to address it and to really get you good quality sleep. If you are suffering from sleep deprivation, or if you can't get good quality sleep because of stress, for example, then guess what? We are back to the cycle. It's the same thing as when we talk about stress. Before, stress and tinnitus are going to feed each other, and lack of sleep is causing stress, and stress is causing tinnitus, and again, it's a cycle. So if you can get good quality sleep because of stress, you need to manage that stress condition, and we talked about that before. If you can get good quality sleep because of some physical condition, maybe it's pain in your body, maybe it's some other physical condition, you need to manage that condition so you can get good quality sleep. I know I'm maybe simplifying this, but this is the way that you can address. You need to address the source condition or the source triggers so you can get good quality sleep, because not getting good quality sleep will increase stress, which will trigger tinnitus, and you'll be in the same cycle again. Some of the other things that you can try with sleep, if again, this is like if you can get quality sleep and you don't have some physical condition or some pain or insomnia. So some of the other things you can try is avoid caffeine for the second half of the day. So for example, you can have caffeine or coffee in the morning, but try to avoid it in the afternoon and the evening. That might help. Another thing that you can try is avoid the screens, any type of screens, 1 hour before you go to sleep. Just don't look at your phone, don't look at TV or computer, and all those different type of screens 1 hour before you go to sleep. The second thing, or the third thing that really helps me, is take a really a warm shower or a hot shower if you can, right before go to sleep, because when you go out of the shower and your body is cooling off, that triggers the same mechanism that will help you get really good quality sleep. So if you can take a good shower, hot shower before you go to sleep, that could be a really good trick as well. If all those things don't help you and you are stuck in that cycle of stress, lack of sleep, tinnitus, that vicious cycle, you need to work with a physician to see what you can do to get sleep. And it might involve taking some medication on a temporary basis, just so you can get some sleep and get out of this cycle. Once you get some good quality sleep, then you can use all the other techniques I just covered to continue having good cycles of sleep, and you may not need medication anymore. But if you are stuck in that cycle, you definitely want to break that cycle and get good night's sleep. I'm really hope that this video is helpful. Use the comments below, guys, to ask questions, to share your story. If you have tips that I missed, share them in the comments below. Help other people. I've learned from other people multiple things about tinnitus over the years, things that I didn't even expect, things that I didn't even think that can affect tinnitus. I've learned from other people. So if you have any tips, if I missed anything, if you have any questions, just share them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.